Sir, may I come in?
Yes, please do.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Please take your seat.
Good evening, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're Miss Karishma.
Yes, sir.
Karishma, I just want to draw your attention to the fact that you are sitting at around 12-13 feet from anybody in this room.
Yes,
right? We have kept this arrangement so that you feel safe vis-a-vis COVID and you can very safely remove your mask considering that you are at a safe distance, right? Please do. So, comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Can we start?
Yes, sir.
Fine, Karishma. To begin with, please introduce yourself to board members.
So my name is Karishma Nair. I'm originally from Palakkad district of Kerala, but my family has been settled in Mumbai for the past 20 years. I've done my graduation in forensic science in 2018, post which I've been preparing for civil services. I'm passionate about public speaking and I take interest in reading fiction, reading novels and reading fiction and watching TED Talks.
You did your graduation in forensic sciences.
Yes, sir.
That is too specialized a course, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is.
And you want to become a journalist. You have taken public administration, you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Right? So, if that was your intention, to become a journalist, to become a administrative service officer, why you took such a specialized course rather than taking a liberal sciences, liberal arts course?
So the decision to prepare for the civil services and choose it as a career path was taken when I was in college. I was fortunate to be the general secretary of the Students' Council in my college, which and I quite enjoyed my role there. And I thought that I enjoy having such responsibility and being the link between the students and the admin and the management. Further, during the time, my mother is also a special educator, and her interaction with the BMC got me to realize that how a good administration can impact lives of people. So the fact that I was interested in the kind of work that administrators does got me into reading more about what the administration does, and public administration also helped me to further strengthen my resolve to become a journalist.
That gives me an impression that you're good for politics. You should actually be aspiring to be in the political executive rather than being this anonymous kind of mechanism.
Sir, I believe at present my skill set is not such that I can appeal to the masses and be a good political leader. I think that administrative acumen is something that I can muster through the training that I get. I do not consider myself to have the qualities that is needed in a politician at present.
At this stage, you believe that is the case. So you want to use this bureaucracy as a stepping stone and later want to aspire for the political bureaucracy?
Sir, as of now, I have no such political aspirations, and my desire to join the administration is not to use it as a stepping stone. It is to do good work while staying in the administration to actually be a part of this growth that now it's a defining moment for our country and for public administration and how administration is taking place. So I think that the journey of administration is what is pushing me to prepare for the civil services and join in, not political aspirations.
Your name is Karishma. You have studied public administration. You must have studied about these leadership including charismatic leadership. Tell me, do you believe that democracy and charismatic leadership, they are actually antithesis to each other? In an ideal democracy, we should have legal rational leadership rather than charismatic leadership, which unfortunately we have been suffering from last 70 years.
Yes, sir. The ideal situation would be to have a legal rational authority. But as political leaders, they do appeal to the masses, and we see that a certain kind of charisma in leaders ensures that people have trust in these leaders. So we cannot completely deny the fact that charisma is important in a political leadership. But for a democracy, we also need legal rational authority. That is why we have a permanent executive, which is the administration.
But if we stay for a while on this political leadership thing, the idea that even the municipal election are being fought on the name of the national leader. Forget about the Vidhan Sabha election where people do not know who is contesting from their constituency. They believe that they are voting for the national leader. Don't you think that is nothing but a forgery to democracy?
Yes, sir, I do agree that the local issue should be what is taking place in the local elections. And idealizing one individual and having just one individual-based politics is not good for governance as a whole. What I meant by having charisma is that having charisma will help you to be a good leader, but it need not be the only thing needed for governance. We do need a legal rational authority to ensure smooth functioning of governance.
You've studied forensic sciences.
Yes.
And you're a public speaker. This is what you said, public speech is something. Tell me, what are the forensic technologies that are employed when we do the forensic studies of voice, recorded voice?
Sir, I'm not aware of the specific technology, but I do know that in the lab in Mumbai, we have a audio-visual section wherein the voice comparator, I do not know the exact name of it, but it finds the nodes through which a match can take place. So a voice is played, and then the person is asked to then give another sample, and then different nodes are checked to analyze whether the comparison between the two.
Which effectively means that every voice is unique.
So we believe that there are some things that cannot be changed in a voice. It can, even through mimicry. It is not 100%. It is not like a fingerprint that it's entirely unique. But we think that there are some things that can be identifiable in the voice, but it need not be 100% unique. Sir.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Karishma, you just talked about the charismatic authority. But I believe it. Charismatic authority is a myth. Charismatic authority emerges when there is a psychological gap between leader and the followers. Do you believe it?
Sir,
the days of charismatic authority has gone. The days of Churchill, Roosevelt has gone.
Sir, I think the days of just having charismatic authority is gone, because if someone is just charismatic without doing good work and without their actions speaking for themselves, they will definitely be sidelined. But entirely, we cannot say that charisma is not seen, because even in global leaders, we see that Barack Obama had a huge support because of the way he carried himself, the way he spoke. So charisma is important, but I do agree that it is now not the sole basis of authority. There is the need of a legal rational authority.
What kind of charisma or attributes you have which will be useful for the civil services?
Sir, through the leadership opportunities that I have, I think that I understand when to be a team player and when to be a team leader. So I try and learn from the team that I have. So I think leadership is one quality that I have tried to instill inside me. I think I have good communication skills, which will be needed in the administration. Persuasion and empathy is something that I can use in the administration. These are things that come to mind.
Very good. You just said that your interest area is public speaking, right?
Yes, sir.
What kind of communicational skill is required for a good public speaker?
So firstly, the public speaker has to have thorough knowledge about what they are speaking. A well-researched speech is better than an impulsive speech. Secondly, they should realize who their audience is, because every speech does not work with every audience. One should have a good opening line and a closing line. We can use anecdotes, and we can use good quotes. And lastly, one should be able to modulate our voices at certain places, because we need to keep the audience also more interested in what we speak.
Is there any role of histrionics behavior for public speaking?
Sir, I'm unaware of the term that you mentioned.
Do you believe that our Honorable Prime Minister is a good public speaker?
Yes, sir, I do believe he is a good speaker.
How?
So firstly, he connects a lot with the audience. He speaks in a very passionate manner, which reaches the audience well. Secondly, the kind of pauses that he takes, it is very well timed, so that he knows what he has to emphasize on. And thirdly, he usually has content which is rich with the kind of work that his government has done. So I think all these three makes him good.
Very good, very good. Have you gone through the institution like PMO?
Yes, sir.
You have studied in the paper 2 of public administration.
Yes, sir, I have.
What is it? Is it a constitutional body or a statutory or executive body?
Sir, it is not a constitutional body. It is neither statutory. I think it is an executive body.
When it came in force?
Sir, I'm unable to recall the year when it has come.
Can you tell me some role and the functioning of the PMO?
Sir, it gives the Secretariat assistance to the PM in his functioning as the PM of the country. And when we see that over the course of the years, sometimes the PMO is a stronger institution. So it acts as a coordinating mechanism between the other cabinet ministers. It also acts as a single advisors to the PM are also attached to these offices. And it also acts like a single point to connect with the rest of the cabinet meetings.
Very good. Karishma, why PMO is over-exercising over other ministries or departments nowadays?
So to my mind, it is because we now have a strong Prime Minister who definitely...
What is the definition of a strong Prime Minister? Majority, only majority, or something else?
So majority, and the fact that the rest of the cabinet ministers consider him to be their leader and do not consider them to be at par. He's clearly the first amongst the equals amongst them. And the fact that he has a big majority also plays a big role.
Okay. My last question is, tell me something about Citizen Charter.
So Citizen Charter is a document through which an institution tells what kind of services it provides, what can the consumer expect from the organization, as well as it talks about the grievance redressal mechanism in case such services not delivered. So it is a document that provides a lot of accountability and transparency within institutions.
It is kind of legal contract or ethical or social contract between citizen and administration.
Yes, sir. More than legally backed, I think it is more ethical, because not all institutions are mandated to have it, but it is more of an ethical thing, moral way of showing what is the quality of service expected.
Very good, Karishma. Over to
Thank you.
Karishma, so one of your hobbies is public policy and debating on those issues, isn't it? And you have also been a student of public administration. So tell us something that are the banks in India a commercial entity or not?
So we have private banks whose objective essentially would be profit making, and they are commercial. But we also have public sector banks which have a broader role than just having a commercial purpose.
Oh, so the public sector banks do not have that commercial objective as a first objective?
They do have it as one of their objectives, but not as their sole objectives.
Okay, so is RBI a commercial entity?
No, sir. RBI is the regulator of the banking system, so it itself does not undertake any banking operations like normal scheduled commercial banks.
But RBI does earn profit while extending the loan and giving the loans to the banks and other financial sectors in our country, isn't it?
So, but the profit that it earns, it gives back to the government, and the rest of it also it does not use for any commercial purpose, which is why.
How do you define commercial entity? I mean, let us first of all define commercial entity, then come to this question.
So to my mind, a commercial entity would be something that would have profit for itself and would be able to tweak their policies such that they maximize their profit and can put back the money to enhance their efficiencies.
All right. So one thing that is the profit earning motive is the most important ingredient to call any institution as a commercial institution, isn't it? Now, having said that, why does RBI, do not pay any amount of tax to the government? There are commercial institutions or commercial banks in our country. They do pay taxes to the government in the form of corporation tax. But why the RBI doesn't pay any tax to the government? Do you know about it?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not aware of why it doesn't pay.
Okay. What's the difference between the forensic accounting and forensic auditing? Forensic accounting and forensic auditing.
So, forensic accounting would be the record keeping should be very well detailed, and so that any wrongdoing which will be there can be brought out in auditing. So, auditing will happen post facto, accounting will happen before it. So, I think forensic accounting takes place as a preemptive measure so that any fraudulent things can be brought in during the auditing.
Okay, so which was responsible in creating the huge NPA losses to the banks in India?
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware of.
Not aware of?
No.
You are aware of this particular fact that the NPAs are there in the banks in India?
Yes, sir. I'm aware of that. But I didn't know if it was forensic auditing or accounting that led to it.
All right.
I'd have to read about it.
Okay. So, what do you suggest? What is the future of cooperative banks in India?
Sir, cooperative banks play a big role because it reaches people who are not catered to by the scheduled commercial banks. And right now, the RBI is also ensuring that the regulatory mechanism of cooperative banks is more streamlined. So I see a good future because we now have a Ministry of Cooperatives also, which is pushing for having more cooperative institutions.
Where is the future? The government is now trying to privatize every bank.
Sir, it is not every bank, but we realize that we need a few national banks, but cooperative banks will be there because the lending at the lower level may not be catered to by the private bank.
But they are incurring the highest NPAs in India.
So I think the future would be that we will not have as many cooperative banks. We can merge a few cooperative banks, but we'll definitely have a few cooperative banks which can reach the masses. But I do agree we will not have as many and we'll have them to be more professionally managed.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
Karishma, a forensic science expert. Can I say that?
Sir, I wouldn't call myself an expert student.
So I can say a student of forensic science.
Yes.
Okay. What is so specific about forensic science?
Sir, it is the application of any sciences to aid the criminal justice system. So what is special is that it has the importance of forensic science affects lives, sir, and of the entire criminal justice system.
Okay. Have you heard of the term crime scene?
Yes, sir.
So crime scene is a kind of difficult place where some crime has happened, and I'm talking about a crime that relates to mass murder or something like that, and you are a forensic scientist and you have to visit it. Would be comfortable going there?
Yes, sir, I would be comfortable.
But somewhere I have read about forensic science that women's less prefer about it because of two reasons. One is that they are hesitant in going to these places, first reason, and second is that male proportionality in forensic science for crime scene investigation, except for investigation of cyber things and financial, male is preferred more over that. What is the justification to it?
Sir, I do agree. Forensic science has been a male bastion for a really long time. But I think that is now changing, because even in my college, the batch, we had a very positive sex ratio. We had more females than males. And I think with the advent of technology, the risk that is happening on to the practitioners is reducing. So more women are now realizing that it is a noble profession, and it is a profession which does not have as many risks as we thought initially. And also the push by the government is another thing, that right now even we have established a National Forensic Science University, and different state governments, like recently Uttar Pradesh also opened up a lab. So when more and more government push comes for forensic science, it becomes a profession that more women would also want to take.
Okay, Karishma, give me one argument which I should take up for accepting you as an administrator rather than being a forensic scientist or forensics expert.
Sir, I think the skills that I have garnered and what my goal in life is aligns to the fact that I want to be able to impact lives and to play a role which is much larger than solving crimes, which is why I think that I'll be better aligned in a role as an administrator than a forensic scientist.
What would be your starting line and tone if you have to speak to or talk to a people who belong to the age group of 65 plus?
Sir, I think at 65 plus, they would appreciate if we are energetic. They would appreciate if we are also a little cognizant of the fact that they might not be at the same pace that we are. So I would try and be a little slower. I try and be a little more louder, and I would try and start with something that they can relate to, something from their past as well.
Okay, now Karishma, my last question. You have to talk to the same people, but they belong to the group which you belong to in terms of caste or religion or place of your belonging, and you're talking of something customary which is against the custom which is in practice. Then what would be your tone?
Sir, something which is against the custom, I would not start with public speaking, because I think a sensitive thing should be, it is not something that people will appreciate if we stand and give a speech about it. So dialogue at a local level and talking to specific leaders of the community, because they will trust people from the community to try and change the customs instead of from a person like me. So I will try and engage with people who they trust, and I try and give valid points as to why I think that custom is wrong and why they should change.
So you will take a step back from your public speaking?
Yes, sir. I know when I should.
Okay. Thank you, Karishma. Over to sir.
Yes. Karishma, during your graduation, you had been the part of student politics?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If we look at the current status of this student politics in India and Indian universities, where it has reached, since we do know already the importance of the student politics during the colonial time, freedom struggle movement, post-independent, and afterwards also. Generally, regimes, they tend to discourage student politics. How do you see? Those students' leaders, they are generally being, put behind the bars because of public speaking, and you are interested in public speaking.
Sir, I think student politics is seen at a bad light because sometimes the vested interest enters into student politics. The national political parties also enter into student politics, which the Lingdo Commission has also mentioned that it should not be the case. Student politics should be limited to what happens within the university and what are the issues of the students that they can raise up. Secondly, sir, the point about public speaking is there are some cases where incendiary speeches are also taking place in the garb of student politics. So that is another reason why I believe that student politics is curbed, which is not something I would support, but I think this could be a justification of why they would want student politics to be.
So you believe that student politics and student leaders, should confine to speak about their, the issues which are very much related with the territories of the universities, isn't it?
No, sir. I think they can speak about national issues as well, but not through a political ideology of political parties. If they are discussing national issues, it should be issue-based. It should be on arguments that are not stoked up because of vested interests, is what I mean. They can definitely speak about broader issues.
The definition of the vested interest is very large.
Yes, sir.
You need to rethink on that. Anyways, since you are a person who comes from Kerala, and recently we have seen in Kannur University, the right-wing ideologues syllabus in PG has been introduced, and that has happened, a left-leaning university where SFI is one of the left-leaning students' union. It has, supported, those curriculums. What is your take?
Sir, I am not aware of this specific university, but I think that in any academic institution, if any academic text is introduced, it should be based on the board, and if the student
why the protest is being made? Definitely, so other ideologues are, the ideologues of the different, ideologies. They had to be read so that, the people could be aware, more so on, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I completely agree that we should not restrict academic learning of any ideology. And I support the fact that we should be learning different ideologies.
We have also seen the moral policing is, on high in Kerala. Is it true?
Yes, sir. Recently, there have been
against the women
cases. Yes.
Okay. Country Sri Lanka is facing, the food, crisis recently. We have seen that. So, in this regard, International Fund for Agriculture Development, it has, come up with a memorandum and understanding with Sri Lanka to get it out of, those, the food crisis. How, these two, one institute and the country Sri Lanka could work out so that, it could, get out of those crises. What are those, the plans, to get out of, this emergency situation?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm unaware of the memorandum. I'd have to read about it.
All right. Last one from my side. Since we have seen, and the study that suggests that the climate change, they are causing the frequent El Nino and La Nino effect. So, don't you think so? What are those, the responsible factors which are playing the role of causing El Nino and La Nino more so frequent?
Sir, El Nino and La Nina happens because of differential heating in the Pacific. So, climate change will cause this erraticity in this heating. So, which is why it is becoming more frequent. Other than that, sir, I think wind speed is another reason why.
Is there any impact on the monsoon?
Yes, sir. And during the El Nino year, our monsoon in India is very much reduced, while in the La Nina year, we have a more than average monsoon season. Sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Karishma, you mentioned that your mother is a special educator.
Yes.
If you look at the special education, one of the problem our nation is facing from last at least 45 years is that we are unable to integrate the special education need with the mainstream education. Why do you believe that we have failed as a democracy in making our mainstream education inclusive so that the special education can be part of it?
So for this specific issue, globally, there is the universal design language through which what they say is that within the curriculum, you have to use different techniques so that we would not need a specialized special education, and teachers themselves are trained to teach in multiple ways. In India, I think that the teachers who are teaching students without special needs are not trained as to how to identify special needs students and what are the tools through which they can be taught. So I think the lack of teacher training is one of the major reasons why we cannot do it in India. Secondly, sir, the special needs itself are identified a little late, and they are not given as much importance as they should even on policy. which is another reason why it is neglected and schools are not mainstream. Thirdly, it is not mandatory upon schools to make their curriculum as well as their schools to be inclusive. And if they find a student, they find it better to ask them to leave the school. So if government brings a policy through which we can ensure that different stages of first mainstreaming, then having a co-teacher within a classroom so that one teacher can teach at a different pace and then a teacher can also teach in a special needs. So such a policy should also be brought from the government side.
Looking at this public speech from the same perspective, in the recent COVID times, we saw many world leaders, including governors of the states in United States, all head of the states or head of the governments in Europe. Whenever they were addressing public or press, they were always accompanied by somebody who was doing it in sign language, yes. Right? And we unfortunately do not have leaders who face press for the first time. And second, even if they do face press, we do not have such provisions where we can see that special audience are taken care of. Do you believe that we are not sensitive enough when it comes to being a democracy?
Sir, I think that we haven't been sensitive all this while, but we are realizing the fact that we need to do something for these special needs students. For example, just day before yesterday, we have started a 10,000 word dictionary for sign language under the new education policy, which again will make students more aware of the sign language so that not everyone will now have a basic understanding about sign language. So I think that India realizes that we have not done enough for these people, and just having accessibility through an Accessible India campaign is not what is needed. We also need to include them, and having such speeches in a sign language will definitely be a way forward, sir.
Okay, as a daughter of the special educator, please repeat the last answer in sign language.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm very ashamed that I do not know sign language myself.
Nice meeting you. Your interview is over. You can go now.
Thanks. Thank you, sir.
Take a seat, Karishma.
Thanks.
So, Karishma, your interview is on 17. You
Yes.
have around 5 days, right? Tell me, is it going to be your first interview, I think?
No, sir. It's my second interview.
Second. What was your score last time?
160.
160.
Yes.
Tell me, you are happy with your performance, or you believe that you could have done a little better?
Sir, I do believe I could have done a little better. There were some questions that I had not even heard of. So I think that I need to brush up on a lot of current affairs. And sometimes I think I could have structured answers also a little better.
How about your communication? You believe that, considering that you believe that you are a good orator, you believe that you were able to utilize that thing well, or it could have been a little better?
Yes, sir. I think I should have been a little more eloquent. I was at a loss of words at multiple places.
Okay, see, Karishma, you're a good candidate. You appear to be a person who is well groomed, who's a person who's well cared, right? And so you're coming from a background of both academic as well as your family and other socioeconomic background, which suggests that you're a person who's been exposed to various experiences, and that's been your strength. So that reflects well in your personality. So you have that relatively diverse and well-groomed personality, which is very clearly reflecting, and the board member will be able to see it in a very initial phase itself. But there are areas probably you must have noticed that where you can improve. Coming to specifics, your entry is good, sitting posture is good, verbal communication is your strength, so your voice level is also in general good. At a few places it becomes speed become a little high, but not that your voice clarity is affected. So voice clarity is clearly there, though if speed is reduced by 10-15%, I'm sure it will increase the effectiveness of the communication. It's not that you're not clear. Voice clarity is still there. You have this non-verbal communication things which you probably need to work a little. I mean, I won't be giving you detailed feedback. I'll be suggesting you only those things which can be done in an hour or two, not more than that. One is that there's a lot of hand movement and there's a lot of head movement, right? So this neck movement and the hand movement, generally it is considered good when you are kind of addressing 10, 20, 15 people. It's not really a distraction there. But when you are in a formal communication with only handful of people, now there it becomes a distraction. So my advice will be that if without making your body stiff, you're able to reduce your non-verbal communication movements, it will be definitely good. Look at the video carefully.
Yes, sir.
Right? If you're able to do it, fine. If you believe that it is hampering the natural communication of yours, then let it go. Right? That will be my suggestion. Eye contact in general is good. Flow is definitely very good. There are a few places where though it appears that when the direct question is asked, tell us about your qualities. Fine, you don't have any choice. You will be telling about yourself only. But board members were of the opinion, and I kind of tend to agree with them. Look at the video carefully, you'll realize that this, I won't call it self-boasting, but something going in that direction comes more than once. And these people are very fragile ego people there. They may unnecessarily, they may actually get not offended, but they'll be able to look at it not really in a welcoming tone. My advice will be that see whether you can reflect the good aspect of a personality by your answers themselves rather than telling it in the first person, right? It happened twice probably. Once obviously it was asked, so you didn't have any other option. But then it came again. So look at it carefully. I mean, I do believe that it was sounding, I won't say call it inappropriate, but it was sounding as avoidable.
Okay,
right?
sir.
Look at it carefully.
Yes.
Other things, definitely you're doing very good. My only concern is that whatever is your strength, which is your communication, should be adding to the total personality evaluation of it rather than becoming an obstacle to it, rather than becoming a hampering tool to it. You are a wonderful speaker. Your choice of words is generally very, very good. You're smiling at right places. So usually your communication is your strength. Please don't let it become a problem, right?
Yes.
That is my message to you. Other things you're already doing well. Yes, there are a few areas, especially in current affairs, where you can probably brush up, right? International affairs and other things. Wherever you can brush it up, fine. Last suggestion, when you talk, a lot of it is coming from books and preparation. As I said earlier, the first impression among the board members will be you're a well-cared, relatively a privileged person, right? So which means that disconnect from the ground is likely to be their prejudice about you. Find ways where you can show that that is not the case, right? Find ways. I mean, your answers can have a few places where it appears that your experiential aspects are not that aloof, right? That will make you another, I mean, that will add to your already good DAF and personality,
Okay,
right?
yes.
There were a few places where it appears that whenever the textbook questions are asked, you're very good. But whenever connect is asked, it appears as if that is not up to that level as much the knowledge is,
Okay,
right?
sir.
So your knowledge is good, your communication is good, your personality is also very good. It is only that at a few places it appears that these good things are not being used in a good manner, right?
Okay, sir.
All the best.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thanks.